Today I interviewed Jane Usher, and she's a food nutritionist and lifestyle coach. And I talked about my new program and how important food is in relationships. And so I asked her all about how her memories of food and the significance of that and what her favorite meal was. And she talked about the Sunday roast, and that's something that we used to have, and I had fond memories of that. And it was more about the connection, not so much the actual food, but the connection to the family. And I feel like that's like setting a good example for our children in relationships, to have a good relationship with food and to share that together, have a shared experience. And it's way we can get to communicate. It's a time when you can converse and you can share your stories and tell about the things that happened. I hope you enjoy it. So I'm really excited today to have Jane Usher. She is a nutrition and lifestyle coach. And if you could just tell me a little bit about how you got into that line of work.
Well, it's a relatively new pursuit, a couple of years now, I would say. And I was experiencing all kinds of disruptions in my health. And I had always been in very good health. Like, what the heck is going wrong with my body? Aches and pains and brain fog and mood swings and fatigue, and my doctors couldn't tell me anything about it. Oh, well, you're older now, and it's just part of getting older. Get over it. That's just the way life is. And I was not going to accept that. So I
No.
started doing research to find out what could be going on with me. Started with John and Ocean Robbins. Have you heard of John Robbins?
Yes, the
And
food
and
revolution.
what an incredible story, those two guys. It was from all those years being a boy and eating ice cream for breakfast. Who knows? Because that's how he grew up. There's a
Yeah,
very
Baskin
famous
Robbins.
Baskin Robbins, and he
Yeah.
said they even had a ice cream cone shaped swimming pool, and they would often have ice cream for breakfast. But he added about 20 years to his dad's life, like
Right.
getting him off all of the bad
Sugar.
food. Yeah, and a lot of it is sugar. And there's so much hidden sugar in everything.
That's right.
And it's an organization that is global. They've got millions of people that subscribe to their whole food, plant-based style of eating and living. And I ended up taking a certification course with them to understand better what my body was trying to tell me and to clear up these things that were just going wrong with me, and just absolutely fell in love with it. And when you heal your own body, you think, oh, I can help so many people because I've had
Yeah.
heard so many people saying the same things, having the same complaints as me. It's like why you give to a charity, because someone you love suffered from whatever the charity is supporting.
True.
So that's what spurred me on. So I have my certification as a whole food plant-based coach, and I am now building programs and materials so that I can help other people learn to listen to their bodies and heal themselves through
Fantastic.
through proper nutrition. And then, the communication is a big strong suit for me. It's run through whatever hat I've been wearing at the time, uh, including owning and operating a food concession on a skateboard park. And
Oh, yes, I
and
saw that.
and,
That's a bit of
and
fun.
I designed the space. I got a loan for $80,000. I built the thing out, and I took care of disenfranchised children for 2 years. I went back to school, and I got this 2-year certificate in public relations, marketing, advertising, all those bits that went along with it. And then I parlayed that into a BA in communications. I just had to pick up the courses that were then offered as the school went to a university level. So I have that. I worked in public relations, um, boutique companies, small number of clients, and did that for a while. And then that sort of morphed into being on the web team for this big marketing agency for the provincial marketing agency, trying to get visitors to come to Canada and come to Alberta. And so I did a lot of web work and back end technical stuff and the technical writing and a little bit of coding, not much, but I did a lot of travel writing there. And so I started up on my own as a writer and an editor, and that sort of morphed now into what I'm doing now. And I'm doing a lot of different courses on coaching and studying with some remarkable people in these wonderful communities of mostly women and mostly sort of in their midlife or older, that
Yeah.
are sort of stepping into their power and going, okay, empty nesters, all that's done. Now what?
Yeah.
And a lot of them want to help other people with the wisdom that they have gathered over the years. And then there's the client side of that, which is they don't know what to do. They're stuck. They know they should be or could be or would be. And it's like sort of helping to guide people through things like, okay, let's deal with the nutritional challenges. Let's see if we can get that working and see what that solves. And then it just morphs. It's like a little microcosm is the nutrition piece. And then the macrocosm is how can I help on a larger level and help people that just know what they should be doing, but they're stuck. They're
Yeah.
procrastinating, or the perfectionism is stopping them from achieving things. And it's and the anxiety that we're dealing with in the world right
Yeah.
now.
So
Everybody,
true.
certainly in North America, with our neighbors to the south,
Yeah.
very difficult, scary times. And people would say, "Oh, I don't have any anxiety problems," and there's this sort of undercurrent
Yeah.
of concern and what the heck is going to happen next? What are these next 4 years going to be look like? Going to look like? Are we going to survive it? It's such pandemonium down there that it's got everybody on high alert, and super vigilance high, is that's just not good for the body. And taking all of those things and sort of using them now in my toolkit for what I'm trying to do to help people with making better nutritional and lifestyle choices. So everything you learn in your life takes you to where you are right now. It
Oh, it's
feels
all
pretty.
useful, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even the so-called, bad experiences are lessons to learn. Everything's useful.
Always. Always. Like I didn't want to be the hot dog queen anymore. People in their 40s and older who suddenly wake up with all kinds of aching joints and stiff muscles and wondering what the heck is wrong with them, and are told by their allopathic medical providers, oh, that's just part of getting older. And
Yeah.
99% of the time it's not. It's usually to do with some kind of inflammatory or immune disorder
Yeah.
and elevated levels of inflammation in the body. And of course,
Mm.
these things usually start with physician heal thyself. I mean, this was happening to me, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm getting my steps in every day. I swim. I do tai chi. I practice qigong.
Yeah.
Um, I even started a tap dancing class a couple of weeks ago
Well,
because I thought that would be good for balance and movement. And my doctor couldn't figure out anything. So I just started researching, and then came up with this C-reactive protein, which is the blood test that you want to do to determine the levels of inflammation in your body. And they should be under 1. I mean, whatever
okay.
the little measurement is. And mine was at 13. And that was like a big wake up call. And the doc said, the good news is it's not high enough to warrant us freaking out about rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or osteoarthritis. Those things are 40 and above, and that
Okay.
really requires medical attention. But with this, with the research I did, I just thought, I'm just going to try to change my diet. And that's when I found out about John and Ocean Robbins and took that program and went, okay, whole food, plant based, let's give it a go. And I would say for 3 weeks to a month, I had hardly any animal protein at all. I would have the odd piece of fish, but most of it I was just experimenting with legumes and meat, seeds and nuts and nutrient dense stuff. And I started feeling better like
Yeah.
within days. All these achy joints would just suddenly it went away. So I kept going with it.
Amazing.
And then my doc had given me a requisition so I could go and get the level tested again. So I waited. I waited for 3 months. I lost about
Okay.
20 pounds in the process. Brain fog lifted, all kinds of things I didn't even realize were bugging me were
Mm.
suddenly going away. And then I went and I had the test redone, and I brought the number down from 13 to 2.3. And so I was pretty proud of that. But if it's under 30, you can do a lot of this yourself just by making these changes to your diet and making sure that you're moving, because if you don't move it, you'll lose it. We know
Yes.
this. So, but it doesn't have to be radical. It doesn't mean pumping iron or any of those things.
No.
It just means, you know, doing some stretching. And there's so many programs that you can get on your computer, put it on your smart TV, and do 7 minutes of stretching in the morning with somebody that's showing you how to do it properly.
Yes.
And then on your own, just make sure you get out into nature, make sure you're walking in nature. That's, if you can do it barefoot in the summertime, even better, so you have that
Yes.
connection with Mother Earth.
Yes.
And swim, get your steps in. Tai Chi is wonderful because it's mind body, and
Yes.
it's just a
Exactly.
wonderful way to sort of stay in alignment.
Mm.
And there's a big spiritual piece to all of this, but that's not a prerequisite or something that you even have to be aware of. Just think about your physical body
Yeah.
and what can you do to nudge it back into alignment.
Mm.
And if you're under 5, it's not cause for alarm, but you do want to just do your best to sort of keep it under that. So
Wow.
that was like, well, if I can do all of that just by shifting my diet,
Yes.
and of course that involves just staying away from what they call in America the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which is all kinds of stuff you shouldn't be eating. Super over processed foods, dairy, sugar,
So there's a number of things like we've also developed more convenience foods. So, 100
oh
years
yeah.
ago, people didn't experience the extremes of these, medical conditions, I think, because of
Mm-hmm.
the all this processed food that we're having now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you
And that
look
and
at,
that creates like you say, inflammation creates stress in our bodies as well.
yeah, and
It's
all
all
kinds of horrible
connected.
things can come up if we don't deal with it. But you look at a lot of the European diets or other countries outside of major developed nations that don't have these health problems that we
Yeah.
have. I mean, I don't know what the stats are for Canada, but it's something like 70% of the population is overweight and 40% is obese. And then there's so much overweight and obesity in children because they're eating bad food. The parents are
Yeah.
both working, they're trying to make ends meet, and that it's a pick something up at the deli or get a pizza or take them for fast food because everybody's too exhausted to cook.
Yes.
That's another piece that I'm really interested in, is teaching people how to, like, just make your day on Sunday and batch cook for the week. And here's some really easy recipes, and you do this, and you put a couple of days worth into the fridge that are baseline things like quinoa, greens, whatever, and then you
Yeah.
freeze in batches the rest of it. And then you come home at the end of a work day, all you have to do is saute some vegetables, pull that thing out of the fridge, throw it on top, and you're good. And there's
Mm.
lots of, people think that whole food plant-based eating must be boring or too expensive or too hard to do, but there's a wealth of information out there that says otherwise. And it's you get into, it's building a new habit, and you do
Yes.
that, and you're prepared and you're not scrambling. I know people that meal plan for like an entire month. Nah, I can't. That's just
No,
too
I
much.
can't do that.
That's just like way over the top.
Yeah.
But I
But
will meal plan for a week, and
yes.
then like the Europeans do. they buy what they want to make for dinner that day. And they don't stuff their fridge with vegetables and stuff that they have every intention of eating, but by the time they get around to them, they should not be eating them anymore because they're too old and they don't have any food value. 3 days in
Yes.
the fridge, that's it. Then there's no more value in them.
Yeah. And also we have to sort of approach it from the idea because of our busy lifestyles, it's something that's easy and quick to make, like that's still nutritious. There are things that you
Mm-hmm.
can do.
Oh,
Yeah.
lots. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And especially when it's, both parents are working, or
Mm.
even if it's no kids and just, a couple and they're both working and they come home at the end of the day and say, oh, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? The age-old question. But if you can just plan a
Yes.
week out and then it takes the pressure
Takes
off.
the
It's like, oh
thinking.
yeah, that's good. Let's have that tomato thing tonight. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And then there's just minimal prep to pull it up and tart it up a bit. So they don't advise people like, all right, cold turkey, you can't have that anymore. It's like you just start slowly taking out a few things that aren't so good for you, like fast food
Yes.
and deli meats and anything that's over processed, and start adding in a little more of the good stuff. And then just sort of keep a little journal about how you're feeling, and see, just watch things shift, because you can shift very quickly. And according to John and Ocean, people are becoming are getting rid of type 2 diabetes just
Yeah.
from
Right.
changing what they eat.
Yep.
There's all kinds of amazing stories out there of people recovering their health, getting off of most of their medications, lowering their blood pressure. It's just by eating sensibly. It's not a diet. It's just sort of making a few nutritional hacks, and
Yes.
then staying with that because you'll want to, because of the results that you get. It's really
Yeah.
quite wonderful. One of the guys that I follow is Dr. Joel Furman, and that's Fuhrman. And he's a nutritarian. So he has established this nutritarian way of eating. And it's basically nutrient dense food, so that you're getting what you need out of your food and you don't have to take a lot of supplements and blah, 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 because we all do too many of those. But he has
Yes.
something that he goes by called G bombs, and it stands for, this is the G bomb plan. It stands for getting your greens, your beans, your onions, mushrooms, your berries, and your nuts and seeds. Well, seeds and nuts in this case. So those are all really nutrient rich foods. Mushrooms are amazing. You should eat mushrooms every day in one form or another. They're actually better to eat them cooked than raw. You get more nutrients out of them cooked. But I've been
Mm.
experimenting a lot with mushrooms. I made heard of the dish beef bourguignon, where
Yes.
you the French dish with beef and the wine and the mushrooms. Do the whole thing, but skip the beef and every different kind of mushroom you can possibly imagine,
Yes.
and figure out how to get it in there. And
Yeah.
that's a recipe that I found in the New York Times cooking section. And it was very fiddly and there was a lot of prep, but oh my God, it was so worth it. It was just
Yes.
divine.
Yeah, I've done that like a mushroom bolognese kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we have a farmer's market here and every week and he has all different types of mushrooms. It's amazing. He has the lion's mane.
Oh, yes, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Which is good for your brain and for
Yep.
memory and sleep and stuff. And I like gnocchis and all sorts of oyster mushrooms and yeah.
And when they're
Big
fresh
fan.
like that, it's such a treat.
Yes,
Such a
it
treat.
is. Yeah. Yeah, I'd eat mushrooms every day if I could. But
Yeah.
my partner doesn't like mushrooms, which is interesting.
Well, maybe you could, make something that would fake them out.
Yeah.
That you
The
didn't know that was mushrooms.
one exception is shiitake. So he likes
Or because
shiitake.
they're so flavorful. They're
I
so
know they're
flavorful.
good, aren't they? I'm curious about you have a diploma in public relations and technical writing and
It's
applied
kind of
communication.
yeah, it's been a kind of long and winding road.
Mm.
communications has always kind of ended up being one of my gifts, I guess, and I've accessed that in many ways. For instance, I was a classically trained stage actress, so
Oh,
I was a professional actor for many years, and that's communicating the playwright's words.
yes.
So that was that.
And so what do you think communication brings to like what you do now?
Well, there's so many different ways that we have of communicating.
Mm.
And I think that the best form of communication, barring, a couple of continents and a couple of oceans between us at the moment, the fact that we are doing this face
Oh,
to
well, that's
face.
true.
Yeah, and face-to-face communication is absolutely the best because you
Oh,
can see,
yes.
you can read the
I
other people's
agree.
body language, and it's just that your whole body is in the project. And
Yes,
then when you are like the endless online horrible things that can happen online and things people say
true.
to total strangers online that are so horrific they would never say to them face to face.
Well, they wouldn't have
And
the
young
guts to, probably.
no, and now there seems to be permission to do that, and children getting
It's,
bullied online, and
yeah,
all of the
like
things.
taking the filters out, isn't it, or something,
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, anything can be said.
it's quite terrifying, really. I mean, there's so many benefits to like what you and I can do right now. I mean,
Yeah.
let's see, 1980s. Yeah, I'm old. 1980s, I came to Australia for the first time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I worked in
Was that
Sydney. I
with
went
your
to the
travel
cross.
travel
No,
writing?
way back. No, way,
Oh,
way
okay.
back. Yeah, I hadn't even gotten into that then. This was when I hadn't really given up acting, but I wasn't getting any work. And then I had an opportunity to go work in the Cross at a hotel that was okay. That's a whole nother rabbit hole story. But that was my first adventure in Australia.
Yep.
Uh, and in those days, my home base was Los Angeles. And you wrote letters. I mean, you didn't
Yes.
even fax. You didn't even fax. That's how old I am. You wrote letters, and then it would take like 2 weeks to get there. And then you'd have to hope the person would write you back the same day. And so communication was like far between. And phone was so expensive that if you
Yeah.
had a phone call, you couldn't talk for more than 5 minutes, or it would take half your salary for the week. So the way things have changed, so that so much of everything is digital and online,
Yes.
and we've lost. I think we've lost the ability, or maybe not my generation, but below, are losing the ability to socialize, and
True.
the value of
Mm.
being with each other, being with human beings, being out in nature, taking your best friend and going for a walk, not just texting,
No.
and it does have its advantages. I have friends all over the
Yes.
world, which I can't just pop in on. So we do that. But there's so many opportunities that get missed. And I think young people and children, particularly having gone through COVID, there's a big piece that got lost. And I
Mm.
don't know. It needs to come back, and that's the communication piece. That's the getting together, the socializing. At least try to get the family around the dinner table once a week and talk about life and what's up, instead of how was your day at school. Okay, no, let's dig into that. So, what's your favorite class right now, and who's not your favorite teacher, and just curiosity. Curiosity, I think, is the uh, one of the driving forces of life. If
Yeah.
God help me, should I
Yeah, I
ever
love
lose
that.
my
Mm.
curiosity, I would just, I mean, what's the point? I mean, I want to know how things work. I want to know how things are going to turn out. My aunt is going to be 106 in a couple of months. So
Beautiful.
I've probably got 30 years. I got to get crack lacking. So it's just,
Do you go and ask her lots of questions? Talk to
oh
her,
God, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
find out her
She's getting
wisdom.
weaker. The battery is
Mm.
running down, but she was my mom's older sister, and she sort of
Wow.
stepped in and helped out when my mom died. And dad would farm four kids out to the relatives, and she's been like a second mother to me.
Mm.
And we just have so much fun on the phone. We can crack each other up. She tells me all the old stories. It's like she can put on lipstick without even looking in a mirror. I said, how can you do that? How can you do that? She said, well, when you went to the dances with the boys and you were out smooching in the car, well, you had to put your lipstick back on before you went
Oh,
back into the dance or people would know.
that's so cute. Have you heard of leptins? Like
Mhm.
they say creates some of that inflammation and stuff.
There's a guy out there who's a doctor, telling everybody, well, you shouldn't be eating nightshade vegetables, you shouldn't be eating tomatoes. And
I've heard that it's how you cook them. So if
Mhm.
they're
Oh yeah,
really,
like
really well
tomatoes, you should
cooked,
always, yeah, you should
um,
always, oh, don't, raw tomatoes aren't bad for you unless you eat 8 pounds of them at
that's right,
once.
in moderation.
But you get more value out of them if you stew your tomatoes and make up a ragu. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the food revolution because I don't know a lot about it.
Well,
Like,
they set up this institute. They
mm,
are. I mean, their goal is to stop the population of the world, the human population of the world, from eating animal products. And they
yeah,
cite all these reasons why it has to stop. 80% of the arable land on the planet is to grow food for animals or to grow animals, all for humans.
80%.
Yeah, of all
Wow.
the arable land on the planet. And if you put that to better use of growing vegetables and fruits and things like that, there's no there's no need to harm animals. They're very much against harming animals,
Yes.
and they look at the fish stocks in the world as being toxic because of all the garbage in the water.
Yeah,
And if you
true.
just take those things out, so I don't push that down anybody's throat. I mean, I will say I'm a nutritional coach. Here's what I have learned,
Yeah.
and whole food plant based is recommended. But, baby steps, just baby steps, just start making small changes and you'll soon, and things like getting rid of dairy and getting rid of sugar. And one amazing thing with me when I cut out dairy, which turned out to be a big marker for me with the inflammation. Your body changes every 7 years, and suddenly I was not processing dairy very well. I had no idea that I wasn't
Yeah,
until
right.
I took it out. So I confess I will still have my yogurt because I've not found a good plant-based yogurt, kind of like glue. And
I
but
think
I have,
yogurt's not too bad because it's got the
because it's fermented.
yes, that's right. It's got the yeah.
Yeah. As long as you don't get the kind with the fruit bottoms and stuff, because it's so
Oh,
full of sugar.
sugar.
So
Yeah.
full of sugar.
Yeah, I
Plain
get
yogurt.
a
Yeah.
natural one from our farmers market and they have 10
Yeah.
cows and they feed the calves first and what's left
Mm-hmm.
is for the humans.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
that's totally ethical, yeah. And so
Yeah.
this is the reasons I do things too. Like mine's based on ethics as well
Yeah.
as nutrition for our body, like what
Yeah.
is required and not, yeah. And yes,
Yeah.
no sugar at all.
Yeah, and I really didn't have. I've been watching my sugar for a long time, but it is amazing how much hidden sugar is out there.
Oh yeah.
Just, yeah, with all kinds of long
It's
long names, like eight
all in
syllables
that
to it.
all in
Yeah,
that middle section
yeah,
of the supermarket. I actually don't
yeah.
go to the supermarket. I just get veggies.
So
Yeah.
yeah, well, and the
Very
rule, and
rarely
this
go
is
there.
this is John and Ocean's rule is when you go to the supermarket, shop on the edges,
Outside.
don't shop down the aisles. Stay
Yeah.
away from the deli, stay away from the packaged goods.
Yeah.
Look at this, just pick something out of your pantry and read the label on it. And if
Yeah.
it's got more than 2 syllable words in there, you probably
Yeah.
really don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
All the
That's a good
preservatives and all that. So it's a matter of just starting to learn more about what you're putting in your mouth,
yeah.
and start like all the barbecue sauces and salad dressings
Oh,
that have so much junk in them. And it is
preservative.
relatively easy. Do that part of your batch work on a Sunday or whenever you're running out. Make 3 or 4 dressings, put them in bottles, and put them in your fridge. Then you know exactly what's in them.
Mm,
Oil, vinegar, lemon juice, mustard, good to go. And there's lots of another one, pick that one up in the grocery store and look at the label. It's just full of so many unpronounceable words. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
then people say things like, well, I better not eat fruit because of all the sugar. But that's fruit juice, I would say, yes, stay away from fruit
Mm.
juice. It has as much
You
sugar in
need the
it as
fiber. Yeah.
yeah, but yes, but when you eat the fruit, then you're getting the fiber. And because of the fiber, it takes longer to digest in the body. So you're not spiking your blood sugar that when you drink a glass of orange juice. But if you get up in the morning and you're really hungry and you're like wishing you had a donut or something, have an apple. Just eat an apple, eat an orange, and that will satisfy the immediate hunger. And then you can get on with whatever you're going to do until you make yourself a healthy breakfast. And
Mm.
that's the breakfast piece is one of my favorite things is steel cut oats up
Oh,
here.
yes.
And they're little chunky ones, right? They're not the flattened out bits. And so I mix
Oh,
that
is that
in.
what it means?
Yeah,
I've
I
never
think
known
it's
what it
just
meant.
yeah, it's overnight oat is what everybody calls it.
Yeah.
3-to-1 ratio. So in one of those tubs of yogurts, I'll probably put in cup and a half of the steel cut oats, mix them all up in a bowl, dribble in a little bit of maple syrup or liquid honey just to cut it a little bit. That won't kill you, that amount of sugar. I put a tablespoon into a whole tub. And then you mix that thing up and you put it in the fridge, leave it overnight. And then
Yeah.
in the morning, I'll take a little bowl, I'll put like about 3 tablespoons of that. I'll put on some hemp seeds because that's really good for you. And then I'll scatter on some walnut pieces and frozen blueberries, just,
Yeah.
a couple tablespoons.
Yeah.
And that's just my go-to breakfast. I just love that. So that's really good.
You can even
And
do it with water and then just add a bit of yogurt in the morning. Kind of makes it lighter. It's not so
mm,
heavy.
if you can't give up your cheese, people are like, oh, I'm addicted to cheese. And you know what? You are, because there's a protein in milk and cheese called casein,
Yeah.
casein, and it is addictive as cocaine. It goes to the opiate receptors in your brain, and you just want more.
Yeah,
So it's a tough one.
it's interesting because sometimes you see soy products like soy cheese and stuff, and it has casein in it.
I know. It's
And
like
so they've
that's
added
good.
it. And so that's not completely vegan.
No. And well, and that's the vegan thing is a whole other kettle of fish. You go to that section in the supermarket and you see all of the different
Oh, the
vegan,
fake food,
yeah, and
fake
it's
meats.
bad. It's bad. It's
Yeah,
not
no, they're not
vegan.
that good.
No,
Mm.
no, they've got all kinds of additives again. And it's like, ugh, okay, just keep it simple. Buy your tofu and soak it in whatever tastes good to you and fry it up with your vegetables. End of story. Vegan
Yeah.
hot dogs. Like, what's the point? It's kind of an oxymoron. And yeah, make a hamburger and make it with a portobello mushroom. And it's
Yes, they're
meat patty.
delicious. Yeah.
There's lots of different
Very
ways to go.
meaty.
Yeah. But taking out the all of the milk was really good. Now, if you can't get rid of all your cheese, at least stick to the hard cheeses. The
That's
soft
right.
cheeses
Yeah,
are
they're better for you.
yeah. So I got it down to just like a little shredding of Parmesan on something or
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Romano.
Parmesan's not
And
so
and
bad.
and then I found out about nutritional yeast, which
Yeah,
is this little
yes.
flaky stuff, and that tastes like
On your
Parmesan cheese.
pasta. Yeah.
Yeah, so you sprinkle that on top instead. I mean, there's just so many tips and tricks and things you can do that are simple that make your food interesting and easy to prepare. It
Yeah.
just takes just do a little think about it, do a little bit of research, and start trying some things out.
A program called Respect, and it's an acronym for what people actually, I did a survey for couples, and they said that respect was one of the highest things that they wanted in a relationship.
Very
And
good.
so I've broken it down. So R is for responsible, but also for respect. Um, and I also, looked up that, and it's like having high regard for somebody, respecting their views, their opinions, their wishes, their rights. And then the next one is expression, and that's about and also expansion and exploration.
Mm,
And then the next one is shared experiences, which is what a lot of people wanted, and values and goals together so that they could, work on something together. Also a sense of humor and sensuality. Sensuality is quite high on mine, and that's why I think cooking is a really beautiful way to express your love because you can do it with all your senses.
I would totally agree. That's a
Yeah,
wonderful way to look at it. Yeah.
yeah. And P is like possibility and a new perspective. E is emotional, like safety, but also intelligence, and it also includes empathy and compassion and stuff like that. And C is like connection and communication. Like good communication, obviously, is important, and I think cooking a meal is a really beautiful way to communicate to your partner.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then T is for truth and trust. So when you actually are truthful, then that's when the trust comes.
That's
Yeah,
lovely. That's
yeah,
lovely. I like
yeah.
that a
And so
lot.
I'm reverse engineering it. So I'm starting with T, and so we're going to trust exercises. And like with food, you can like blindfold somebody and feed them some food and that sort of thing. Like it's a very
My,
sensual thing.
well, my brother and I, my little brother and I used to do that. My dad was a fabulous cook, and
Was he?
we lost our mom very early. I was only
Oh,
11 years old, and he taught us all how to cook because he was a
out of
full-time
necessity.
professor, and he needed us to like be able to, once we could see over the top of the stove, to start learning how to cook things to take some of the load off. And there's four of us kids, each one of us found something that we really loved to do. So I was
Oh,
the
yeah.
sauce queen. I was a sauce queen. I loved making sauces.
You love
And
making sauces.
yeah, yeah, totally. And one of my sisters was the baker, and
Yes.
she loved to bake. And the other, I don't know, we all had something, and we used to blindfold each other and do, what do you think this is? What do you think that? And dinner parties. We grew up. I mean, my dad, we
Yeah.
lived in a small town in the university community, and professors and wives and everybody would socialize, and not like today, and have dinner parties. Like that was the main form of entertainment. It still is
Yeah.
actually for me. I love to do that.
Yes.
And you,
It's
because you have the communication, and you have the appreciation for good food, and you have so much fun putting it together and seeing the pleasure on people's faces.
yes.
It's just an all round great form of entertainment. So yeah, the blindfolding thing. And my brother and I used to do things like we'd put food coloring and things and see if people would actually eat it. Like
Oh,
we made purple gravy one time, and it was
yes.
perfectly tasty, wonderful beef gravy, but we made it purple and people wouldn't touch it.
No, no.
Blindfolded, they
This
would,
is
and then we take off the blindfold and they'll go, oh my God, that's awful.
Yes, yes. I went along to at a university, I went along to a talk who talked about that very thing. And they did experiments on people. And so that they would, yeah, like colors like something that was passion fruit, they would color it green and then something that was something else. And people just it totally messed with them. And
Oh yeah.
also, like, so what they were doing was kind of mixing the senses. So, were they like also they go cooked fish and chips or something, and they played seagulls music, in the ocean. And so then people would think, oh, yeah, that's fish and chips. But so they were just testing these ideas that we have in our minds about our
Mhm.
senses, because yeah,
Yeah.
we are really driven by that. Like the food color, like when they dyed a chicken blue or something, and
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
people just went, "Oh no, I am not
No, can't
eating
do that.
that. You can't
Can't
eat
do that.
that."
No. And
Yeah,
it's
so
it's that belief. substrata that that we've been raised with that says no, blue chickens are not to be eaten.
No, well, no food is naturally blue, so that's why in kitchens, commercial kitchens, they have blue band-aids because if it falls into the food, they can
They'll
find it
see it.
easily. Yeah.
Oh my God, I never even thought of that. That's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
very sensible, very sensible.
Yes. Yeah. So what was your favorite food growing up? Like what's
Mm,
what's something that
well,
you really love go to?
boy, he was such a good cook. We really never had a bad meal. Um, Well, the traditional Sunday roast.
Right.
We had always had Sunday dinner. And if it was just us four kids and dad, there would always be a roast and potatoes and fresh vegetables. And he made his own breads and dinner rolls and all of that stuff
Gee.
too. So
Wow.
everything we had was didn't really realize it growing up how lucky we
Yeah.
were really.
How special
But
it was.
a good roast beef dinner with Yorkshire pudding and gravy and good vegetables. Oh yeah, that
Gee.
was excellent. Yeah. And then, I don't even know whether that's a tradition anymore with all the busyness in life these days, with
Yes,
people
and
hardly sit down for a meal with their children during the week.
it was probably more the gathering, wasn't it? The get together of the all the family and that special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk about your week. Talk about what you had coming up. What kind of projects were you going to need time to work on, and where could people cut you some slack with, or could you swap duties with somebody? So,
Mm.
and we talked about life. We talked about what was going on in the world around us. We talked about religion. We talked about politics. None of that is done today, and it needs to be. It needs to be. People need
Yes.
to be educated. It
I
needs to
think
be taught.
that's right. With people's busy lives and stuff, sometimes families are not sitting down to the table
To take.
and eating, or they're having the TV dinner or something, which is totally wrong.
Yeah, and frozen food, just pop a pizza in a microwave. Ooh,
Oh,
yeah, not enough greens, not enough variety, not
yes.
enough time. So
I,
it can
it,
be
it's
overcome.
it's interesting because if you actually listen to your body tells you what you need. And I remember when I was pregnant, I was craving greens because my body needed iron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
so
so
I
you
would just
tuned
like
into that,
eat
of
a
course.
big pile of spinach or, just
Yeah,
because that's what it
yeah,
was craving. Yeah.
yeah. But I take your point about tuning into your body. I think that's,
Mm,
we're in our heads all the time. We're inhabiting from the chin up most of the time. We're not really paying attention to our bodies, and they have a lot to tell us. So
yes.
it's a matter of just slowing down and just tuning in, and your body will pretty well tell you everything you need to know. It may not tell you about colon cancer because that really doesn't have any physical symptom to it. That's just something that you pay attention to when you get older and you get tests and blah blah blah. But if you've got aches and pains, and that was me, it's like, what is this? What is my body trying to tell me?
Yes.
And you chip away at it and you get the answers. And I am much more in tune with what my body is telling me these days since I've started down this path. And it's just like, okay, well, what is that? Okay, well, what is that? And then just sit and listen, wait for the answers. They
Mm,
come.
so true. And so what's your next project that you're working on your book?
I'm working on my book. I'm actually working on some online courses right now. And I'm working on a 5-day challenge, which is it's the free thing anybody can sign up for. And I'm calling it Kick Sugar to the Curb. And
Nice.
it's just lighthearted and just, 5 days of self-directed work, a little bit of homework, a little bit of exploration, and then a live call with me for once a week. What did you learn? What can I learn from what you learned, and how I develop the next one?
Yeah.
And then I'm developing a 5-week program that'll take you through all those things: sugar, dairy, processed foods, what you can do about it, what you can change, what you should notice, and just sort of step people through so they have a process that they can follow on their own. And if people want more help than that, with sticking to it or whatever, then I'm entertaining not just one-on-one coaching, but group coaching. And because you can reach more people, and then they have interaction with each other. They
Mm.
can keep track. Well, yeah. Well, what about this and what about that?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and what's your book going to be about?
My book is actually my memoir, and
Ah, so
I'm
your struggle with your health.
no, just my life. I mean,
Oh, just your life in general.
I've got 73 years here that I'm trying to write down, put on paper, because I'm actually, instead of just writing it and stuffing it into a drawer, I'm now putting pieces of it out into the world to get brave and see what people think of it. So
Nice.
I entered a writing competition for memoir, and it had to be a snippet, and it couldn't be any longer than 2,000 words.
Okay.
So I took a piece that I'd written a long time ago, and I fiddled with it and I messed around with it until the perfection in me said, "Yeah, to stop. It's good." And I sent it out 1 year to a couple of places, got crickets, and then I sent it out last year, and there was an international competition, and there were 235 entries, and I
Yeah.
came second. I came second.
Congratulations. That's excellent.
I
Oh,
didn't care.
wow.
Didn't
That's a
win any
win.
prizes, but I didn't care. It was like I found out I was on the long list, which was down to 24, and I thought, well, if I don't go any further, that's really neat. And then I
Yeah.
was on the short list for 10. I thought, okay, I'm good. I can tell everybody I made the short list. And so that was encouraging. So I'm now working on another piece that I'm going to enter for this year. And I need to create more time for myself. And I think this is something that a lot of people may relate to. We need to learn how to slow down, I think. We are
Yes.
so busy and we're madly off in all directions. And we've got a to-do list. And as soon as you take one off the bottom, you add another one on the top.
True.
And I think people are there's just it goes back to that anxiety thing. It's just like, how can I be this busy and how come I'm not getting enough done? So I'm like working on trying to figure out how to slow down and not try to do everything at once. A new book by my qigong teacher, a guy named Lee Holden, and it's called Ready, Set, Slow, instead of ready, set, go. Always being so busy and not having enough time even for self-care.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things couples can do together for self-care, and cooking a meal together is a perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's something that I discovered last year too, was that I'm now questioning those deadlines.
Yeah,
They're deadlines in my own head, like, and
yeah,
if they're not serving me, if that's just somebody else has created it and I think I have to follow it, then I'll let it go.
yeah. I hear you loud and clear. I am taking things off my plate. It's kind of my mission. You know how they say pick a word for the year, the beginning of the year,
Yes.
pick a
Yeah.
word. So I
Yeah.
picked a generic one that means a lot to me, and my word for the year is balance.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Mm, that's a
Balance
good one.
life and work and health and relationships, and just try to get, and when you have that sense of balance, the body loves it. The body just loves being in balance. And there's
Yes.
so many different things you can do for that. But that's my mission for this year. I'm cutting out things that no longer serve. I have hard deadlines. I'm on courses that will disappear in a year. Some of them I have lifelong access to, some of them I don't.
You
Yes.
go, well, I'll just let that one go.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like you find out what are the things that are not a hill to die on, and
Yeah.
just casually move them off to the side. Not to say that they've gone into the dustbin forever. File, and just maybe you'll circle back and go, oh, you know what? I think I'll pick up that one piece. That would be good to put in here. But
Yeah.
just simplify
All
and
those little
balance.
things, isn't it, that you put together?
Yeah, all the bits and pieces. I have all the pieces to the puzzle I'm trying to build, but some of them are just square pegs and round holes right now, and I have to just push them aside.
And so if there was something you wanted to cook, but you don't know how, like something that would, you'd love to know how to cook, what would that be?
Whoa,
Is there
that's a
anything?
that's a tough question because I'm a good cook and I can
Yes.
cook pretty well anything I want to cook. If I need a recipe, I have way too many recipe books, and usually I'll just go online and Google it and see what comes up. But there's so many wonderful, whole food plant-based cookbooks out there. I mean, you could just
Mm,
put that into a search engine and you'll just get masses of responses. And they're basic recipes that are easy to make. Now, the mushroom bourguignon that we were speaking about earlier, that was a lot of prep. And I'd like to make food
yes.
that doesn't take a lot of time to prepare, but I was so fascinated by all the ingredients in there and what to do with all the different mushrooms, including, the chanterelle mushroom, the sort of
Yes.
feathery one that's kind of orangish. They said to save that one to the end and then just give it a
Oh,
quick
yeah.
chop
Some are
and
softer.
then crisp it up, just fry it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And then that was sort of your little crumble on top of the recipe. It was fantastic. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, if you like to cook, take the time and find something and just work your way through it. And I don't think I've ever followed a recipe exactly the way I read it because I'm like, oh,
No.
I
Well,
wouldn't put
savory
that much in
things,
there,
yeah, savory things you can
Yeah,
get away with that, can't you?
yeah. And I will write if it's a recipe I want to share with somebody and I make adjustments to it, I'll just make adjustments on paper and copy
Absolutely.
it
I
and
do the
PDF it and
same.
send it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
will write the adjustments as I go along if I think, oh no, that didn't work. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do a
Yeah.
lot of my own canning and preserving. And
Oh,
so
fantastic.
I have recipes there that they're pretty well by the book because you don't want to
Yeah.
mess it up. Like do a lot of I don't do the sweets. I do all of the savories. I do pickled beets and
Yes.
relishes and
I
salsas.
actually, yeah, I did some beetroot, I think last year, pickled beetroot, and I opened it up this year and I went, oh my God, that tastes so good. I can't believe it. And yeah, I try to do things like whenever I make kasundi or chutneys and stuff, I try to, keep the sugar really low and I'll use
Yes.
coconut sugar or something else if I have
Hmm.
to. But yeah,
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 yeah. And there are lots of substitutes for sugar. Like just
yeah,
in baking, you can
yeah.
use like applesauce instead of sugar.
Yeah,
And
right.
different
Maple,
there's
maple's a
lesser
little bit
maple
better.
syrup, maple syrup and honey has an awful lot of good minerals in it. It's also
Mm,
good for, if you've got any kind of skin thing going on, rub a bit of honey on it. It's amazing how it'll make your skin feel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, there's lots of ways to step around the things that aren't good for us to eat.
Mm. And so for the listeners, what's your closing wisdom about food?
I will marry that up with curiosity. Get curious about what you're eating. Look at your ingredients. If they've
Yeah.
got multi-syllables in them, don't eat it. Don't buy it. Put it back on the shelf. But get curious. See what's out there that you could possibly start doing to improve what you're putting in your mouth
Mm,
and have it taste good and be easy to prepare. Start searching around for things. Start doing some reading. Start doing some listening. Find some of your own subject matter experts. And just, okay, I'm not saying ask Dr. Google, but, use your search engines and see what's out there and tune into your favorite radio programs and see what's going on the Food Network. Those are fun because
yeah.
there's so much more trend now towards healthy eating. They're not making everything with butter and flour anymore, so it's good. And
Mm,
then just experiment, just
yeah.
experiment, and you'll find out. Well, no, that didn't work. That was a disaster. I won't do that one again. But I learned that I could do this instead. Just be curious, have some fun.
Mm. Oh, and also in a relationship, what's important to you?
Everything that you have in your acronym, all of those
Oh,
communication
yes,
and trust, I
yes.
think are absolutely you can't survive without that.
Mm,
And trust means honesty, and communication means doing things together. I will you privately send me that because I didn't write it down. I want all of your
Yes,
respect.
yes, definitely. Yeah.
I need some respect.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that all of that. I think that's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I
Thank
love
you.
what you
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
food is my medicine. Dot
Nice.
ca. Dot ca. So you can see a couple pages there.
Well, on that note, it's
I
been
think
absolutely wonderful chatting with you, like somebody who I just briefly met on
on a
another
course. Yeah,
course.
I can't remember which one.
I know,
Yeah,
but it's really, like you say, it's like this is what we can be grateful for, this communication that we can do,
yeah,
across the world. You're in Canada
yeah.
and I'm in
And
Australia.
you're in the future. You're in the future, for God's sake.
Yeah, I know. I always thought maybe I could, invest in shares or something. I might get some insider trading or something if I could work out how to do that. If we're
Yeah,
ahead of time, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but
no, it's a thought though. You can't help but think that Back to the Future. Okay, let's do that. Well, it's been lovely chatting with you as well.
yes,
I hope we stay in touch.
yes, thank you. And yeah, send me that wonderful the
The
story that you
mushroom
won
recipe. Oh, the
you came
story.
second, yeah. The
Okay,
memoir.
I'll send you my mushroom bourguignon recipe as
Oh,
well.
and the mushroom recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
wonderful.
Take good care, my friend. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
have a wonderful day. Thanks,
You
Jane.
too. Bye bye.